Remember when they signed Aaron Rodgers after a long offseason saga? Rodgers has not played up to his MVP standards recently, but the Steelers hope he can snap their 6-game playoff losing streak. And yesterday, the moves kept coming. Pittsburgh trading for Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith from the Dolphins, sending back Mika Fitzpatrick in the process. Ramsey is 30 and is signed through 2028. And so we got some new faces here this morning. Damian Woody and EJ Manuel here with us. I almost said in the building, but he's not actually in the building. It's EJ Manuel, but nonetheless, Damian is. And so, Damian, when we look at what the Steelers have done so far, can we consider them Super Bowl contenders at this point?
No. Listen, all these moves that the Pittsburgh Steelers made, I would have been more impressed if it was 2022. We're in 2025. A lot of these guys are older guys. They're name brand guys, but they're older guys. I mean, we're going to see here, we're dependent on Aaron Rodgers, okay, who's 41. You know, Cam Hayward, who's 36. TJ Watt, wrong side of 30. Jalen Ramsey, wrong side of 30. Big names again, but we're depending on these guys at critical positions to last a full 17-game slate and ultimately try to win a Super Bowl. I've seen this before with the Philadelphia Eagles. Remember back in the day, the Dream Team, all that stuff that happened back in the day. I've seen this script before. It is hard to rely on older veterans to go out there for the long haul to win a Super Bowl. I'm not sold on it.
It's tough when you're in a division that has young cats like Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson that you got to go up against, right, EJ? And so when you look at what the Steelers have done in their offseason so far, where would you put them in terms of Super Bowl contenders?
Well, look, I think they're a Super Bowl contender, and I would say to Woody, AJ nothing but a number, right? I mean, you look at some of these guys they brought in. You're talking about players who have done it at the highest level, who have won Super Bowls. And whenever I think about Mike Tomlin, I think about the Pittsburgh Steelers guys, I think about culture. And I think that's going to be the big thing for Mike T in this season in 2025. He's going to try to reinvent the culture there, which, again, you bring guys who have won at the highest level. And I look at the Jalen Ramsey trade, makes a lot of sense. The receiving cores within that division at Cincinnati and Baltimore, even in Cleveland, you got to have a third corner, and not necessarily that he's going to be the third corner, but he can play corner outside, he can play nickel, he can play safety. Just keep him on the football field because Jalen Ramsey is going to make your defense much better. And the other part with Jonnu Smith coming from the Miami Dolphins, he was with Arthur Smith at Tennessee, had a lot of success there, and also Aaron Rodgers throughout his career when he's in 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, he has a ton of success. And what that also does is shores up the protection for Aaron Rodgers. So I think these moves are really sound. I think they're smart. Of course, you got to still re-sign TJ Watt, make sure he's back in a cornerstone piece to your defense. But ultimately, I do think as long as they can stay healthy, this is without a doubt a team that can win the Super Bowl.
I'm sorry. I think I blacked out when I heard the phrase Super Bowl. I'm worried about this team being a contender for the playoffs. Like, I'm not sure that they're even going to, like, when you're looking at a team that's the 3rd best team in a division, how often do we talk about them as Super Bowl contenders? And the cornerstone of what the Steelers are doing, you talk about the Steelers culture. The Steelers culture has not been Steelers culturing like it should in this offseason with the moves that they've been making, especially with the way that they have gone about bringing Aaron Rodgers over there and not, really looking at other options and building your whole season around a 41-year-old quarterback who has not been good for about half a decade, and you expect this team to be in the Super Bowl contention. I have just real concerns about this Steelers team not even getting to the playoffs before we talk about Super Bowl. I would not be surprised when it's the end of this year when we're talking about locker room and all that stuff. The locker room's in disarray, the record is in disarray, and this team is just really.
You think Mike Tomlin's going to let his locker room go to disarray?
I would say not on the usual, and not usually. I would not say that, but Aaron Rodgers is his own form of a hurricane that goes into these locker rooms. He brings his own culture, and there's Tomlin versus Rodgers, and the way that the Steelers have been over these last few months. There's real concerns about what's going on there.
EJ, go ahead. What you got to say?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you look at Mike Tomlin, he is the head man of this. And so I would assume there have been conversations behind, closed doors with Aaron Rodgers and even with Jalen Ramsey, guys who have had some, issues in the past as far as being in the news and being in the media and not being happy. And look, you're bringing in pieces who have won. And to me, as a former player, that matters. And I think you talk about culturing, not culturing. Well, bring in pieces that have done it before. Bring in pieces who are also at a point in their career where the only reason they're signing up is to win a Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers doesn't need to play anymore, guys. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think Darius Slay is somebody who just came from a Super Bowl winning team as well. That's going to help, some of those younger corners there at Pittsburgh. So I understand on paper it doesn't look good. It's not sexy when you compare them to a Baltimore Ravens or even the Cincinnati Bengals because of their young talent, young quarterbacks who are stars. But I still believe there's enough in the tank there with Pittsburgh. And the other part, too, they got a playoff-ready defense. So beside what they're going to do offensively, we'll see what that looks like. We know the defense can win them some football games. And for sure, with bringing in Jalen Ramsey, you slow down some of the receiving cores throughout that division.
Go ahead, D-Wad.
Listen, at the end of the day, these names sound good, but these are older guys that we're dependent on here. Listen, we haven't even gotten to the Kansas City Chiefs has gotten better. Okay, the Baltimore Ravens has gotten better. The Buffalo Bills have gotten better. And oh, by the way, the Denver Broncos have gotten better. The Los Angeles Chargers have gotten better. And we're going to sit here right now with the moves that the Pittsburgh Steelers made, and we're going to sit here and throw out there, are they Super Bowl contenders? Where? Like, where? They're not even on the tier of the first three teams that I just mentioned.
Okay.
They're closer to a higher draft pick than they are to a Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. They do have the oldest playoff roster by age. Yes, the Packers had the youngest last season. This is true. But let's not pretend like the rest of the AFC North doesn't have issues as well. The Bengals have no idea what their defense is going to look like until they lock up Trey Hendrickson. The Browns, all sorts of issues. They have no idea who their quarterback's going to be going forward. And then when you look at the Ravens, who have been very good consistently year after year in the regular season, they have issues every year when it comes to the postseason. So I wouldn't count out the Steelers because of age or culture or all these other things until we actually get there. I don't know. Mike Tomlin still has a way with his magic to figure things out when it matters most.
Oh, okay. The same Mike Tomlin, Pittsburgh Steelers have won a playoff game since 2016.
Yeah, it's been a minute since they won a playoff game. Maybe that's what we should be talking about.
He's going to have to be Houdini, Magic Johnson, Gandalf, every sort of magic he's going to have to do to make some magic out of this team.
All right, let's stay in the NFL because yesterday Adam Schefter tweeted out the following here. In recent weeks, multiple teams have been discussing whether they can trade for Steelers standout TJ Watt, who skipped the team's most recent minicamp. Pittsburgh has not shown any willingness to deal Watt so far, but he's unhappy with his contractual situation, and sources believe outside team interest is likely to increase given today's trade with 3 defensive stars unsigned. Which do you view as the most urgent to get done? Look, I don't think there's a world where we think TJ Watt maybe is going to play for another team, but nonetheless, the fact that he doesn't have a contract he's happy with is probably room for concern. So that's TJ Watt. Then you have Micah Parsons, who still needs to be paid, and then the whole issue with Trey Hendrickson in Cincinnati. Of those 3 defensive stars, which do you think is at the top of the list, needs to get done right now? EJ, what do you think?
I'll say Micah Parsons, one, because he's still young. And if you think about it, when they were trying to re-sign Dak Prescott, the same with CeeDee Lamb, it ended up costing the Cowboys more money on the back end because they decided to wait. Now, the good thing is Micah was still willing to show up to minicamp, showed up to all